All right, so there's a important way that human beings, you and I, learn that we've kind of overlooked up until this point, and that is through social transmission. Um, so, social transmission of information is a process where an observer learns something through experiences involving other agents. So we learn because let's just stick with human beings. We learn from the actions of other people um, about uh, and what we observe in them changes our own behaviors. And for instance, let me give a simple example. If you see someone lose their money at a soda machine, you're probably not going to try that machine yourself. Now, the behavior is really emphasized. It's got to be trial and error. You have to try it out, and if it leads to a reward, then you continue that behavior. So if you put the money in and you uh, get something back, then you're going to be more likely to buy a soda in the future. You put money in and you don't get a reward, you're less likely to try that again. Well, of course, first off, we don't just walk up to a machine and try this out of nowhere. We watch other people do it, and we see how they do it and we learn from that. And then, of course, in this situation, we don't go and try the behavior if we see from another person. So the behaviors don't really have a good working framework to explain how um, we can learn from another human being, because it's all about personal experience. I need to do it. I need to behave, and then I learn from the consequences of my behavior. And social transmission of information is ubiquitous. So, TV, we watch TV and we learn how to behave. We learn how to style our hair a certain way from TV. We learn how to interact socially. We go on internet. We see the way people pose on social media and how they present themselves. We're getting information about that. We're getting information about people's political opinions on social media. Of course, we learn from books. We read a book. How does a book change us? Well, there's a social transmission. We are hearing, well, of course, with our own voice. When we read the words, we hear their thoughts, we hear the way they think about it, and that shapes the way that I will talk or I will think about my problems. And then, of course, where are we now? We're in a class, a college class. So you're not actually trying all this out. You're trusting my word, and trusting the textbook, and you're learning from the information that I'm sharing verbally and with the slides and from the textbook. So this is ubiquitous. This is a main uh, method that we learn. And you might think that it's limited to humans because we see humans and how they interact, and you might say, oh, this is one of the distinctive elements of a human being. Well, sorry, because experiments have shown that even rats can learn through social transmission. So um, let's say you have two rats, and they're both fed rat chow. Okay, so there's an observer rat and a demonstrator rat. All right. Well, in the second phase, the observer rat could be removed to another cage, and then both rats are deprived of food. All right. The third stage is the demonstrator rat is given a novel food, a food that neither of the foods have that the rats have ever ate. Well, this rat's hungry, so he's going to eat it. And let's say in this case it was cinnamon. All right, so cinnamon is edible, and the rat can get some of their calories from it. So the rat's going to eat it. Well, what happens when you put them back together? Okay, let's put them back together, and the rats, what they're going to do is they're going to smell each other. It's just what rats do. So the observer rat is going to smell the novel food on the demonstrator rat's breath. It's going to smell, well, you've been eating something. I'm hungry. You got food, I didn't get food. And apparently it's this new smell. I've never smelled it before. And the rat will smell the cinnamon on the other rat's breath. Okay, you take that rat back to its own cage and then give it an option. It could either eat cocoa or cinnamon. Well, it's going to end up eating almost exclusively the cinnamon flavored food. Why? Well, rats have to be on the lookout for dangers, for poison, for things that might make them sick. If another rat has eaten something and is obviously okay, that rat is learning that food is not going to poison me, or it's less likely to poison me. And so that rat might go and try the cinnamon. The cocoa, which they've never smelled or never tasted before, that's a new food. I'm not going to try that because the other rat didn't eat it. So the rat basically is preferring the cinnamon over the cocoa. And you can see there in the graph that not all of them are eating the cinnamon. They're still kind of hesitant because they're worried. Again, poisoning. They don't want to, but they're far less likely to eat the cocoa flavored food. And you could switch this, right? It's not just about cinnamon or cocoa. You switch it and you see the same pattern. If the demonstrator rat tries cocoa instead of cinnamon, then it's going to, the rat would far favor the cocoa over the cinnamon. All right, I'll stop here.